Welcome to the Kerri Lane Show. I'm Kerri Lane. Today, Democrats are humiliated again. First, Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen's message blows up in his face. The tragedy that took place while he was in El Salvador fighting for an illegal gang member. Then, Elizabeth Warren hits a new level of hypocrisy and gets caught on tape. Plus, the left's embarrassing reaction to Elon Musk distancing himself from DOGE. Glad to have you along today. I've been dying to show you a little something. It might be the most ridiculous, out-of-touch take that I've heard in a while straight from CNN. A panel was debating why Americans are ditching legacy media. And spoiler alert, they still don't get it.
The problem is that the right wing, hello, Scott, has taken advantage of this situation, I think, quite cleverly, quite wisely. They've played into a weakness.
What situation?
The situation of media being under attack. And so they've created a situation where...
You've almost got it. Keep going. What the right wing is taking advantage of is finally the American people saying enough is enough. They're tired of feeling like the mass media screens out one viewpoint versus another in political coverage. They're tired of media institutions favoring one party over another. They're tired of narratives over factual stories. If I had any advice for 60 Minutes or anybody else, it would be just cover the news and try to be fair about it and stop putting your finger on the scale.
The media is under attack? Do they not remember being the instigators during Trump's first term? And I think the American people saw the stark contrast when Joe Biden took office and all the media seemed to care about was the flavor of ice cream he was eating, all while the world was on fire. But it gets better. Watch Abby Phillips argue that it's the right's fault for the media's declining viewership.
But people back in those days trusted the media, did they not?
No, they just couldn't be heard because there was no two-way. Now we have the internet.
Look at the Gallup polling. It was here. And now it's here. It's fallen off of a cliff.
Yeah, we do have that Gallup polling about trust in media. And now, as in recent years, and let's be honest, Scott, a lot of this is driven by the rhetoric on your side of the aisle. I mean, it's not.
You think it's driven by the rhetoric and not the performance?
Absolutely.
The right is the problem? This coming from the station that tried to cover up Biden's significant cognitive decline for 4 years, despite it being glaringly obvious to the American people? They're also the station that tried to tell you Border Patrol was whipping migrants. They told you the border was secure, Donald Trump was colluding with Russia, Hunter Biden's laptop was disinformation, Republicans were going to gut Social Security, the Fine People hoax, the bloodbath hoax, the economy is great. Do me a quick favor if you haven't already. Please hit that like button and let me know down below why you've turned to independent voices for your news. I do my best to respond to everyone, and I would love to hear your answer. All right, meantime, Democrats still continue to fight for due process despite having zero concern over the law while illegals were pouring across the border.
Did you like the 4 years of auto pen? Did you like the 11?
Yeah, actually, the markets did, the economy did, yes, actually.
No one's wages went up, and you had 11 million illegal aliens come into this country.
Yep.
I know that's okay with you, but you're worried about this one going back. The rule of law was...
I am worried about the rule of law.
Yeah, but not for 11 million. They totally ignored the rule of law coming here. Now you're talking about it again. So it's back to whataboutism. And so 11 million is fine. Well, when did you talk about the rule? When did you talk about the rule of law when the border was open?
Constantly.
I can guarantee you there is no tape that would show him demanding those illegals follow a process and respect our laws when they were entering our country illegally. Meantime, Senator Chris Van Hollen was off gallivanting in El Salvador with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, while a mother of two was murdered by another illegal immigrant in Van Hollen's state of Maryland. I searched his X account and not a word about the tragic loss of the 23-year-old. However, he is still actively fighting for the release of Abrego Garcia, who we now know, thanks to a DHS source, was driving a convicted human smuggler's car when he was pulled over in Tennessee and suspected of human trafficking. Here's Tom Homan responding to the press, who only wants to ask about this guy's due process.
I find it incredible that there's all this push for more due process, more process for these designated terrorists, when in fact no one asked for due process when they crossed the border. Where were a lot of you all folks when 10.5 million people came to the border and you're silent? Where were a lot of these folks when they had 600% increase in sex trafficking in women and children? Where was everybody when we had 250,000 Americans dying from fentanyl?
Meantime, a twice-deported illegal with a long rap sheet including felonies after killing 2 teens while driving drunk is getting an early release thanks to California officials. He was sentenced to 10 years, but now California, they're releasing him back on the streets after 3.5. Here's how the White House is responding.
But this administration is taking action. The Department of Homeland Security and ICE have already said that a detainer has been put on this individual if he is to be released, and he will immediately be transferred into ICE custody, we hope, if the state of California complies. And if not, the Department of Justice will be seeking a conviction against this man where he will spend time in federal prison for taking the lives of those 2 young Americans.
And a glimmer of hope for the country. Gavin Newsom's office responded writing, quote, after being deported in 2013, this individual unlawfully re-entered the U.S. and committed heinous crimes. A GOP DA then gave him a plea deal instead of pursuing second-degree murder. CDCR will again coordinate with ICE, as they have with 10,000 plus inmates, to transfer him before release. Gavin Newsom continues to surprise me with his latest ability to apply common sense. Although I think you and I both know it's only because he is vying for President Trump's job. Now, another hot topic that the media has latched onto is President Trump's frustration with Fed Chair Jerome Powell refusing to lower the interest rates after he criticized Trump's policies.
I mean, Joe Biden came in and spent $5 trillion, sent inflation up to, 25% increase in prices. Jerome Powell never made that kind of speech against in fact, he accommodated Biden's policies. So I think that's something that really angered us. I mean, I challenge you to find anything that Jerome Powell ever said criticizing Biden's reckless policies.
So the left is upset that Trump spoke out against Jerome Powell. And Elizabeth Warren, she joins in on the conversation and acts like some economic purist, which is ironic, because wait until you see the tape that I dug up. But first, here's what she's saying now.
The infrastructure that keeps this stock market strong, and therefore a big part of our economy strong, and therefore a big part of the world economy strong, is the idea that the big pieces move independent of the politics, that somebody is making his, their, her best decisions economically and independently. We understand that if the New York Stock Exchange, if interest rates in the United States are subject to a president who just wants to wave his magic wand, this doesn't distinguish us then from any other two-bit dictatorship around the world.
Now let's rewind the tape to September of 2024 when Biden was in office.
He said he waited too long. And the best way you can show that you waited too long and that you get it and that you are becoming more responsive to where we are on interest rates is actually go ahead and do a nice big rate cut. Keep in mind that keeping those rates high, as he has done, keeping those interest rates so high, actually has contributed to our measure of inflation.
Oh, so she wants Mr. Powell to lower the interest rates while Biden is in office, but not while the orange guy occupies 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We don't want to give him a win, right? Even if it is in the best interest of Americans. Let's move to this. Elon Musk with a big announcement saying he is taking a step back from DOGE as Tesla stocks continue to be down by about 40% since the start of the year.
Starting probably in next month, May, my time allocation to DOGE will drop significantly. I'll have to continue doing it for, I think, probably the remainder of the president's term, just to make sure that the waste and fraud that we stop does not come roaring back. But starting next month, I'll be allocating far more of my time to Tesla. And now that the major work of establishing the Department of Government Efficiency is done.
Now, my guess in all this is that the right will be disappointed because they certainly don't want the left to be rewarded for their destructive behavior. But it's too late for that. Predictably, the left is celebrating like toddlers who just tantrum their way to dessert.
But the last thing this guy needs to do right now when he's getting pounded, what has he lost, $150 billion? Like, it is time to go back to your day job.
The country really does appear to be just repulsed by President Donald Trump installing Musk, his top campaign donor, in a secretive, totally opaque, newly created pseudo-agency in which his job appears to be to destroy as much of the U.S. government as possible.
He is not only like very sinister and has no idea what he's doing, and people are like, oh no, he absolutely knows, because he's the richest man in the world. Like, yes, he knows how to hire smart people, but don't conflate that and believe that he is the genius, because he ain't.
Don't believe he's a genius because he ain't? I think that statement speaks for itself. But yes, Elon does have a challenge ahead of him. Tesla revenue is down nearly 20% in the first quarter, with net income falling 71% year over year. Those, unfortunately, are real numbers, so he definitely has his work cut out for him. I also don't think these numbers are all because the left stopped buying Teslas in protest. I think the decline is also because people on the right were too scared to support Elon because they didn't want to buy one of his vehicles and then have it be damaged. Now, if you're loving Getting the Truth Unfiltered, please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. Coming up, check out my next video for one of the best showdowns on cable news. Jesse Watters takes on Democrats and hits a home run. Plus, I break down the lawsuit Harvard University has filed against Trump. I also show you the moment a crowd went wild when a protester tried to take on Representative Byron Donalds. It didn't go well. Go ahead, click on it now, and have a great rest of your day.